Today we're going to take a look at how to decide if a quotient in a division problem is reasonable. Does the answer make sense? This is really important when you're thinking about decimal division. The vocabulary we're going to explore today include the following words: expression, model, compatible number, dividend, divisor, quotient, estimate, actual, and reasonable. Problem of the day. A farmer raises 291 goats. She wants to put an equal number of goats into each of 7 fields. About how many goats will go into each field? I'll highlight some keywords here. And the most important one is this. Let's take a look at this problem. A cook bought an envelope of the spice saffron. She wants to be able to store equal amounts of the spice in 8 glass jars. And we'll look over here at my picture. I see that it's 1 9/10 ounce. About how much? This term right here, about how much, tells us that we're going to need to estimate. And we want to know how much is going to go in each jar. What is an expression or a number sentence you could use to model the problem? All that means is, how would you write this if you were going to solve it numerically? Well, I would definitely say I would take the 1 9/10 ounces of saffron and I would divide it into 8 jars. I could even make a little picture in my mind. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And each one of these would be a little glass jar, and I could imagine in my mind sharing it. But I need to estimate. I think that this is not going to work out evenly. I'm noticing 1 9/10 and 8 don't look like they are very compatible. A compatible number is close to the dividend, and in this place, the dividend is the number being divided, 1 9/10, and it can be divided evenly by the divisor. The divisor in this case is 8. Okay. How can we use a compatible number to make our estimate? Well, 1 9/10 is the same as 19/10. In previous lessons, we learned that you can trade that 1 whole for 10/10. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you'd have another 9 over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a lot of tenths. But 19/10 is not going to be divided by 8 evenly. 19 and 8 are not compatible numbers. So I have to think about this. What is a number that is close to 19 that can be easily divided by 8? Well, I'm going to think about my multiples of 8. I have 8, 16, 24. 8's too small, 24 is too big, 16 just right. So I'm going to say that this is kind of like 16 divided by 8, but I'm talking about tenths, so I'm going to get 2/10. Do you think your estimate is more or less than the actual amount of saffron that we put into each jar? Let's think about this. The actual math problem is 1 9/10 divided by 8. My estimate is 1 6/10 divided by 8. This is going to give me my actual answer. We said here this was going to give me an answer of 2/10 per jar. Am I going to get more or less than 2/10 in each jar? And why? I'm probably going to get less. I estimated using a dividend that was less than the actual dividend. So the number that I divided, oops, get that eraser, it's a tricky board. The number I divided, 1 6/10, was less than the actual dividend of 1 9/10. So the estimate is going to be less than the actual amount. What is a different compatible number we could have used to estimate? Well, let's go back to our multiples of 8. Let's think about that. What would you choose? You could do 24/10. So let's take a look at how that would work. I have my 1 9/10 and I'm dividing it by 8. I'm going to think of my multiples of 8. 8, 16, 24. And each one of these I'm looking to replace and put over here. So I'm going to put 8/10. Am I going to put, am I going to put 1 6/10? Am I going to put 24/10? What am I going to do? Well, we already tried 16, so let's try 24. Remember, this is 24/10. And my estimate is going to be greater than the actual amount because my estimate is greater. The number that I am dividing is greater than 1 9/10, so my answer is going to be greater than the actual amount. If the cook thinks that there will be about 23/100 ounce of saffron in each jar, is this reasonable? Let's go back and think about what we estimated. Our actual problem, our actual expression was 1 9/10 divided by 8 equals, and then we didn't know. We estimated that 1 6/10 or 16/10 divided by 8 would give us 2/10 in each jar. Then we estimated that 24/10. Do you see how this is the same as 24/10, 2 and 4/10 if we split them all up? Divided by 8 would give us 3 in each jar. So I know my answer is going to be somewhere between 2/10 and 3/10. So if the cook thinks it's going to be 23/100 of an ounce, is that reasonable? What do you think? It is going to be reasonable. 23/100 of an ounce is more than 2/10 of an ounce and less than 3/10 of an ounce. Remember, when we talk about tenths, 2/10 is the same as 20/100. 3/10 is the same as 30/100. So that 23/100 would go right in between them. Let's try one on your own now. 23 friends decide to order some food. The friends decide to share the total cost evenly. About how much will each friend pay for the food? Write a division expression for the problem. Is that what you got? 148 8/10 divided by 23. To find an estimate using compatible numbers, it might be necessary to adjust the divisor and the dividend. In this case, the divisor is the number doing the dividing, 23, and the dividend is the number being divided. Why do you think we would adjust the divisor first? Well, it's a lesser number, it's smaller, and it's probably easier to find multiples of the divisor. I definitely can estimate 23 a lot easier in my head than I can 148 and 8/10. What number could I adjust the divisor to? Twenty is really close to 23. I want to take a look at my problem, and I want to see now if I can adjust my dividend, the number that's being divided by 20 in my estimate. So how can I adjust the dividend to a number that's compatible with the divisor, which is 20? I'm going to think about the multiples that are close to this. So let's look. I know 20 can be 120, 140, or even 160. But I like that 140. It's nice and neat, and it's like a front-end estimation. I'm going to choose that. Okay, 140. That makes sense. So now that I have 140 divided by 20, I want to think about my estimate. Remember, estimates help us by looking at compatible numbers. What makes sense? Right. 140 divided by 20 is 7. So 23 friends ordered the food. They shared the total cost evenly. About how much did each friend pay? We took our expression, then we wrote an estimate, and then we decided that each friend would pay about $7.